15-year-old Amaka was a cheerful, lively teenager who walked along a narrow, dusty road to her school in a small town. Her mornings were usually rushed, with Amaka's mother packing her bag and urging her to hurry. Despite her busy schedule, Amaka always took leftover food with her. For a long time, Amaka had noticed a strange man sitting by a broken fence near her school. This man was known in the neighborhood as the madman. People were scared of him and often whispered about him. The villagers said he used to be a respected teacher, but something went wrong in his life, leaving him lost and confused. His real name was forgotten. Now, they only called him the madman. Unlike everyone else, Amaka wasn't scared of him. Instead, she felt sorry for him. Every morning, she quietly gave him a few naira notes or some leftover food, and every day, he would look at her with grateful eyes, though he couldn't speak much. Life wasn't easy for Amaka. Her father had died years ago, leaving Amaka's mother to take care of her and her younger siblings. They struggled to make a living, and Amaka often wore the same old school uniform, but helping the madman felt good. She didn't have much, but she knew he had even less. One morning, as she reached the broken fence, Amaka noticed the madman wasn't in his usual spot. She looked around, worried, and was about to continue walking when she saw him standing a little distance away, looking lost. She walked over to him and softly called out, "Uncle, it's me, Amaka. I brought you something," holding out some naira notes. The madman looked at her, and for a brief moment, his eyes seemed clear. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but only nodded, took the money, and mumbled some words that didn't make sense. Amaka gave him a small smile and walked away, but something about their exchange felt strange. As days passed, the madman began waiting closer to her path. He would watch her as she approached and stare at her intensely as she gave him food or money. Amaka didn't think much of it at first, but one day, when he took the money, his fingers brushed against her hand and stayed there a little too long. She quickly pulled her hand away and was hurrying to school when the madman suddenly carried her from behind, covering her mouth, and dragged her to a nearby bush where he had intimacy with her. When he was done, Amaka cried not only as a result of the pain being her first time, but also the shame. She managed to walk out of there as she wouldn't stop bleeding, went into an uncompleted building where she cleaned herself up, sat there and cried till she heard the school closing bell being rung from afar, and she left for home without telling anyone, not even Amaka's mother, about what had happened. Months later, Amaka started feeling different. She was always tired, felt sick in the mornings, and had a strange feeling in her stomach. She thought it was just stress from school and helping at home, but deep down, a fear began to grow. Amaka's mother noticed her changes, especially how quiet she had become. Concerned, Amaka's mother tried asking her if she was okay, but Amaka only gave nodding answers and avoided eye contact. Something was wrong, but Amaka couldn't explain it. Each day, Amaka dreaded her walk to school. She even tried taking different routes to avoid the broken fence, but somehow, the madman always found her. His intense gaze made her feel trapped, and she started feeling both fear and guilt. She wanted to help him, but his presence now made her uncomfortable, as if he held a secret. One morning, Amaka's sickness became too much. She bent over in pain on her way to school. Amaka's teacher saw her and took her to the school nurse. After some questions, the nurse looked at Amaka with a serious expression and gently asked, "Amaka, are you all right? Is there something you want to tell me?" Amaka shook her head, avoiding the nurse's eyes. But the nurse wasn't convinced and soon called Amaka's mother. When Amaka's mother found out Amaka was pregnant, she was devastated. That night, Amaka's mother's cries filled their small house. Amaka sat on the floor, shaking, as her mind raced with questions. She couldn't explain what had happened. The memory of the madman's lingering touch flashed in her mind, filling her with a chill. "Amaka, who did this to you?" Amaka's mother asked, her voice full of pain. But Amaka stayed silent. She didn't have an answer. The thought that it was the madman was horrifying, yet she couldn't shake it from her mind. The news spread through the village, and people whispered about Amaka. Her classmates looked at her with pity or disdain. The once cheerful Amaka was now weighed down by a reality she couldn't understand. Every day, she walked past the broken fence with a heavy heart, and every day, The madman was there, watching her with those same intense eyes. He never spoke, only stared as she passed by. Her nights were filled with strange dreams of the broken fence and the madman's face close to hers. She would wake up in fear, her heart pounding, leaving Amaka in a web of mystery and fear. After some time, Amaka stopped going to school. She could no longer face the stares and whispers from her classmates and teachers. Her body was changing, and the weight of the secret was too much for her young heart to carry. At home, Amaka's mother kept asking her, again and again, who was responsible for her pregnancy. "Amaka, please tell me, who did this to you?" Amaka's mother would plead, her voice breaking each time. But Amaka stayed silent. She felt trapped, lost, and scared. No words came, no answers she could give. Each time Amaka's mother asked, Amaka's head would drop, and she would look away, unable to face Amaka's mother's tearful eyes. Her silence only deepened Amaka's mother's pain. Amaka's mother would sit in their small living room, crying day and night, wondering what had happened to her precious daughter. Sometimes, she would cry loudly, her sobs filling the small house.
Other times, she would sit quietly, tears streaming down her face as she held Amaka's hand, hoping her daughter would finally tell her the truth. The pain in Amaka's mother's heart was like a sharp knife. People in the village began to gossip even more. They would whisper to each other whenever they saw Amaka or Amaka's mother, saying hurtful things that reached Amaka's ears and made her feel even worse. At night, Amaka would lie in bed, unable to sleep. She would think of the madman, remembering his strange looks and the way he had touched her hand that one time. Fear gripped her heart, but the memories were blurred and confusing. She didn't know what to believe, but the thought of him lingered, haunting her dreams. Amaka's mother tried to stay strong, but each day she looked weaker, as if the weight of Amaka's secret was draining the life out of her. She stopped going to the market as much, avoiding the villagers who would stare at her with pity or judgment. Amaka knew Amaka's mother was suffering, and guilt gnawed at her, but she didn't know how to make it right. One night, as they sat together in their tiny living room, Amaka's mother took Amaka's hands in hers and said softly, "Amaka, I am here for you. No matter what happened, you can tell me. I just want to understand." Amaka felt tears fill her eyes, but still, she couldn't bring herself to speak. She didn't have the answers Amaka's mother wanted, and the fear inside her was too great. She lowered her head, feeling the weight of her silence pressing down on her like a heavy stone. Days turned into weeks, and the house grew quiet, filled only with the sounds of Amaka's mother's quiet weeping at night. Amaka knew that Amaka's mother was praying, hoping for a miracle, for some kind of answer to bring peace to their broken home. One evening, Amaka's mother sat beside her daughter, holding her hand gently. She looked into Amaka's tired eyes, her own eyes filled with sadness and love. "Amaka, please, you can trust me. I am your mother. No matter what, I am here for you," she whispered, her voice soft yet full of pain. After a long silence, Amaka finally looked up, her face wet with tears. She took a deep, shaky breath and whispered, "Mama, it was the madman, the one by the school fence." Amaka's mother froze, her hand gripping Amaka's tighter. Shock filled her face as she struggled to understand what her daughter had just said. "The madman?" she repeated, her voice trembling. "The one everyone calls crazy?" Amaka nodded slowly, her eyes full of fear and guilt. Amaka's mother's heart shattered as she realized the horror her daughter must have gone through. How could this happen? How could her sweet, innocent child be hurt in such a way? Without another word, Amaka's mother stood up, her face set in anger and determination. She couldn't stay silent. She couldn't let this go. She had to confront the man who had done this to her daughter. She wrapped a shawl around her shoulders, her eyes blazing with fury, and headed straight for the broken fence where the madman always sat.